"You're getting nothing." My sister said it before the lawyer introduced himself. Her voice was level, controlled, almost administrative. Not loud, not emotional, just certain. She placed both palms flat on the conference table, as if stabilizing a conclusion that had already been finalized. Then she began listing reasons. Irresponsible decisions. Unstable career direction. A failed startup she described as proof of poor judgment. She used the word leech once. Freeloader once. She avoided useless but replaced it with not structurally reliable. No one interrupted her. Our uncle examined the grain of the walnut table. The lawyer's pen hovered above his legal pad without touching paper. The HVAC system clicked on overhead, filling the silence she left between sentences. I folded my hands and let her finish. 10:02 a.m., according to the digital clock behind the lawyer. She believed she had concluded the matter. The lawyer had not yet opened the file. The lawyer adjusted his glasses after she stopped speaking. He did not validate or challenge her statement. He simply turned the closed folder toward himself and aligned it square with the edge of the table. Before I continue, if you follow stories about inheritance disputes and procedural outcomes, consider liking this video, subscribing, and leaving a comment. It supports the channel in measurable ways. And one question. Have you ever been confidently judged before all the facts were formally presented? The lawyer opened the file. My sister's certainty was constructed from partial documentation. 3 weeks earlier, a draft estate summary had circulated among immediate family members. It outlined projected distributions based on asset valuations at that time. In that draft, her share was dominant. Mine appeared secondary. The summary included a disclaimer stating it was subject to revision upon execution of the final instrument. She treated it as final. She also built her assumption on visibility. She had remained geographically close to our father. She attended property walkthroughs. She coordinated with contractors for rental maintenance. She reviewed tax projections with him in person. From her perspective, inheritance followed operational involvement. I lived independently in another city. I built my own income streams. I did not request financial support. I did not attend every advisory discussion. In her model, distance equaled disengagement. She interpreted my silence during family financial conversations as lack of comprehension. She interpreted independence as absence of claim. She equated presence with entitlement. What she did not examine closely was revision chronology. Estate planning is iterative. Drafts circulate. Adjustments occur. Percentages shift based on liquidity, liability exposure, and long-term management risk. The circulated summary reflected valuations before 2 significant asset restructurings. It did not reflect the final signed revision, but because the draft aligned with her expectation, she anchored to it. When the estate meeting was scheduled, she prepared language that assumed confirmation, not review. She printed acknowledgement forms referencing the earlier draft date. She highlighted lines she believed justified consolidation of control under her oversight. Her confidence was procedural, built on a document she believed governed the outcome. My silence reinforced her model. She mistook stillness for incapacity. She mistook preparation for absence. 6 months before my father passed, he requested a private meeting with the estate lawyer. I was present. My sister was not. That afternoon, my father asked specific questions about staggered distributions, conflict mitigation between beneficiaries, and trustee authority in cases of disagreement. He requested language preventing premature consolidation of assets before formal validation. He was deliberate. The revised will was executed that same day in the presence of 2 witnesses. I read it carefully. The final version contained 3 structural elements my sister did not anticipate. First, a supersession clause stating that the most recently executed version nullified all prior drafts regardless of prior circulation. Second, a sequencing requirement. Before percentages could be discussed publicly, the execution date had to be confirmed in the presence of all primary beneficiaries. Third, trustee certification was mandatory before any acknowledgement forms were considered valid. Distribution followed verification, not assumption. I stored a digital copy securely. I retained a printed copy in a sealed envelope. When the earlier draft circulated after my father's death, I did not correct anyone. Preparation does not require announcement. Interrupting her opening declaration would have shifted the meeting into argument. Argument disrupts sequencing. Procedure clarifies it. People say more when they think they've already won. By allowing her to state publicly that I was receiving nothing, She committed fully to the assumption built on the outdated draft. She distributed printed forms referencing it. She articulated her intended asset consolidation plan in front of counsel. Silence preserved contrast. Contrast would soon become measurable. Once she completed her evaluation of my inadequacy, she transitioned to logistics. "We don't need unnecessary delay," she said, sliding acknowledgement forms across the table. "We can sign based on the summary we reviewed." The lawyer did not reach for them. She outlined how rental properties would transfer under her management structure. She referenced efficiency, continuity, and what she described as my limited infrastructure to handle portfolio oversight. Her voice remained steady. "You won't have to manage anything," she added. "This simplifies it." The word simplifies functioned as containment. I noted the order she proposed. Sign acknowledgements first, confirm trustee validation later. The executed will require the opposite. She asked whether distributions could begin within the week. She suggested delay would create administrative cost. She implied consensus existed. 10:18 a.m. Her pen tapped twice. She believed momentum would pressure compliance. She believed documentation supported her. She had not yet verified execution chronology. The lawyer finally spoke. "Before discussing allocation," he said evenly, "I must confirm the most recent executed instrument." He reached for a sealed envelope bearing my father's initials. My sister glanced at it. "That's the version we saw," she said. It was not. The envelope contained the revision executed 6 months earlier. The supersession clause was printed in clear language. Any prior drafts were rendered void upon execution of the final version. Additionally, the will specified that beneficiary-generated acknowledgement forms referencing outdated instruments were invalid. Her prepared documents cited the earlier draft date. On the wall behind the lawyer, the digital clock read 10:26 a.m. He opened the envelope deliberately. Paper slid against paper. He removed a staple and aligned the pages. Nothing dramatic occurred. Structure rarely announces itself loudly. The trustees' conference call was scheduled for 10:30. Until the execution date was confirmed in the presence of all beneficiaries, allocation percentages could not be discussed. My sister's attempt to accelerate signatures had no procedural standing. The trap was not hidden. It was embedded in sequencing. The lawyer placed the document on the table, but did not begin reading. He initiated the trustee call. The line rang twice before connecting. During those seconds, my sister maintained composure. She adjusted her binder. She repositioned her pen. She leaned back as if anticipating confirmation. Silence expanded. Procedural delay often appears like uncertainty to those unfamiliar with governance structure. It was not uncertainty. It was compliance. 10:30 a.m. The trustee joined the call. The trustee's voice was neutral. He requested confirmation of the execution date, printed on the document in hand. The lawyer read it aloud. 6 months prior. The trustee confirmed receipt of that executed instrument on the date of signing. He cited the supersession clause number and clarified that any summaries circulated prior to execution held no binding authority over final allocation. My sister attempted to interject. "That's not the version." He continued without change in tone. "Preliminary drafts are non-binding." The lawyer then began reading updated percentages. They differed materially from the circulated draft. Liquid assets were allocated in larger proportion to me, citing demonstrated financial independence and reduced management conflict exposure. Real estate holdings were divided more evenly than previously outlined. Trustee oversight remained in place for 12 months before any consolidation could occur. No emphasis. No commentary. Just recital. My sister did not raise her voice. She recalculated. Her prepared acknowledgement forms, referencing the outdated draft date, became procedurally irrelevant. The lawyer placed them aside without remark and produced updated forms reflecting the correct execution date. "This doesn't align with prior discussions," she said quietly. The trustee responded, "The executed instrument governs." She referenced conversations with our father. The trustee clarified that informal discussions do not supersede signed and witnessed documents. Her posture changed incrementally. Shoulders tightened. Blinking increased. She reviewed her binder, as if searching for language that could override chronology. There was none. The lawyer continued reading administrative instructions: asset verification, account restructuring, compliance with trustee oversight. Each clause was mechanical. Her earlier words, "leech freeloader, getting nothing," no longer corresponded to documentation. Procedure does not respond to rhetoric. It responds to execution date, witness signature, and certification. She hesitated before signing the updated acknowledgement form. Not out of disagreement, out of recognition. The outcome had been determined 6 months earlier. Her certainty that morning had been constructed from a draft. The governing authority was ink, dated and archived. By 11:12 a.m., all required signatures were complete. The lawyer stamped the final page with the firm's seal. The trustee outlined next procedural steps and disconnected. My sister gathered her binder without looking at me. No apology was offered. None was requested. Chairs shifted. Papers were stacked. The executed will was returned to its archival folder, labeled Executed Version Confirmed. The meeting concluded in the same configuration in which it began. Only the assumptions had changed. Outside the building, the day continued without adjustment. Inheritance is not emotional transfer. It is documentation, sequence, and enforcement. My sister constructed certainty from visibility and proximity. I constructed certainty from verification. When she said I was getting nothing, she spoke from an outdated draft. When the lawyer finished reading, he spoke from an executed instrument. One was assumption. The other was authority. The allocation is now recorded, timestamped, and certified. There is no ambiguity. Only execution date. Witness signatures. Trustee confirmation. The matter is closed.